conversations I've ever had. Heather McDonald, we welcome you to the show. As always, you wrote a great piece at National Review Online. By the way, good to see you the other night at the function we were at. I mean, this just drove me crazy. I didn't know male chauvinism, as it's always been addressed, is considered a mental disorder, according to Gloria Allred. The American Psychiatric Institute calls it that. I thought it was, male chauvinist pig thought he had to open doors for women because they were weak.
It's extraordinary. It's the next step is going to be just being male is a mental disorder. I mean, that's where we're heading here. Is that the male sex drive is being criminalized. Now, that has nothing to do with these shootings, which are obviously heinous and tragic and an absolute unbearable loss for the victims' families and their friends. But to link the horrible outbreak of violence here with somehow cultural chauvinism is ridiculous on many grounds. A, Elliot Rodger was insane, and B, this is not a sexist country. Women have endless opportunity, and so what this really shows is the feminist narcissism and thinking that everything is about them.
I mean, I got to tell you, Heather, right off the bat, and your column is so, I mean, as always, is so complete and thorough and brings out so many magnificent points and facts and statistics. But to a layman like me, immediately I'm going to say, well, he also stabbed to death. One could argue, although you don't want to argue such a thing, in the more brutal of the murders, although the shootings were brutal, but the police chief stood there and said he never saw a crime scene so brutal and bloody. And I mean, he viciously stabbed and cut 3 males. So to come out as feminists and say this is all about hating women, I don't even know where that comes from.
Well, what we're seeing again and again, Steve, is the reimportation of the Victorian ethos of the wilting, fragile female by feminists. And yes, Rodger didn't even, he stabbed 3 males and he killed another. So the count was 4 male dead victims versus 2 male dead victims. But to say that, well, we need to worry more about violence against women, as awful as that is, and of course sexual assault is the second most heinous felony after murder, but why should we be privileging female deaths over male deaths unless we believe that females deserve special attention by virtue of their maternal role and delicate sensibilities? And that's really what the feminists end up saying. And if we want to go back to that, I'm all for it. It means females re-embracing modesty, realizing that the best way to get males to act politely is to enforce a code of chivalry and gentility. But of course the feminists want to have maximum promiscuity and still view themselves as victims at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, and I should point out that the reason or an excuse for the feminists to come out like Gloria Allred is the manifesto, which did talk about how he, I didn't read the whole thing, but how he hated women, wanted to get even because they shunned him, etc. So that's where it comes from. I shouldn't say where did they get women. He hated women from. He did, but I just don't see the extension to male chauvinism. And again, like you point out, he killed more males than he did females. You also point out, you point out over 77% of all U.S. murder victims in the U.S. in 2012 were male targets of non-lethal shootings, and are even more disproportionately male. So again, this theory, which does dovetail, as you point out in your piece, with the piece you wrote the other day, which we had you on for, that brilliant piece on these rape statistics at colleges. It does dovetail into that, doesn't it?
Oh, of course. I mean, this is just an accelerating campaign here. Feminists are really gaining power. They're gaining power within the Obama administration. They already control the universities. And it's based on, really, my point is that you have to realize that women have more opportunities today than ever before. I mean, that's really the craziness here, is for women to claim that they face a society filled with with mistreatment and obstacles when in fact they are the beneficiaries of constant preferential treatment. And yes, Roger expressed hatred towards women. He also expressed hatred towards men. He basically hated everybody. But part of what he's expressing is a battle of the sexes, and this is an incredibly fraught relationship. There is a lot of tension, energy, power, unequal power in men and women's relationships, and feminists have tried to simplify it. We used to have very complicated codes of sexual behavior on men and women's parts, and those recognize the fact that men have more strength. On average, their sex drive is going to be more insistent, less nuanced, and we used to deal with that through certain codes of behavior. Those have all been now wiped away on the notion that they were reductive towards women and sexist, and now women are finding it's hard to compete. But again, none of this has anything to do with the Elliot Rodgers shootings.
Right, and as you
We're
pointed out,
we're only discussing this because the feminists brought it up.
Right, and they're doing, in my view, and I think in yours, they're doing a disservice. If they want to focus on how to prevent these kinds of things, they should be championing, going after mental illness, not turning into this, turning it into a sideshow, which is based in no facts. And is basically, taking our focus away from the real problem.
Of course, it's opportunistic, but the capacity of feminist women and their male supporters to see victimhood is endless.
Yeah.
Now, focusing on mental illness, we all want easy solutions.
There are none, though.
There are none.
No.
I mean, all of these cases, the Colorado Aurora shootings, the Newton shootings, it's never 100% clear that any of these people would have met the standard for involuntary
Right, and you can't just start locking people up because that's a slippery slope, too. Heather, great piece. Everybody check it out at National Review Online. Of course, reader at the Manhattan Institute and the City Journal. Heather, great to talk to you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, my pleasure. All right, there you go. It is, I don't know what to say. Just make it clear. I'm not minimizing any of this, but to say that it's because the guy was a male chauvinist, and that's why he killed people? That's why he killed the men he killed? Because he's a male chauvinist? We're coming back with the panel. Don't go away.